Right, guys, so welcome back to All the Gear, Some Idea. So today we are going to be looking at reasons as to why the bike may be overfueling. So trying to start the bike, it was giving me fuel coming out the headers, backfiring, like absolute nightmare basically. Started going through some little bits, found the coolant temp sensor to be wrong, changed it with one from an Alfa Romeo, which has got the exact same part number, supposedly, although I bought it from Euro Car Parts, so there's a potential difference there. The way these actually work is it's got, from what I can see in the wiring diagram, and a thing that is going to be in the description below, it's got essentially two temp sensors in a way that both feed to an earth, and this isn't liking it at all. So still didn't run with the new temp sensor from an Alfa Romeo 164 2-litre V6. Don't go and do what I did, and I wasn't even trying to save money. It was £42. That's not cheap for what it is. I can get them cheaper, but I wanted to see if I get run straight away. That didn't happen. So returned that sensor, refitted the old one. What I then did was bridged the connector, and it fired up straight away. Then I gave it an earth and fired up straight away. Obviously, it's then not reading correctly. I believe it's an NTC. Correct me if I'm wrong. PTC, NTC. I'm sure this is NTC. I'd have to have a look. It's definitely in the thing below. I haven't made that. Somebody else made that. However, what I want to do today is go through everything and how you test it and what you're expecting to see. I've done this already. I've ordered loads of new parts. More parts are arriving in about an hour. I've got parts that have been delivered from a company called K Parts Holland. I did do an unboxing video in a previous video, but I'm not sure I can use any of that footage just because it won't make any sense. But I will run through what I got, why I got it, and how it is. This video is purely going to be us testing components on the K100 to see what is faulty, what is not faulty, and what you're sort of looking for in resistance-wise. The next video will be me refitting all of the new stuff to it in the hope that it runs. Fuel pump for the fuel tank has already been replaced. It was replaced by the previous owner. However, I got a fuel pressure tester. I'll try and put some snippets in somewhere of me using the fuel pressure tester. It was about 90 PSI coming out the pump. It's meant to be, I think, 65, and now the new one's doing 110. Not great. The new one is better quality. I believe the one that was fitted looks like it's from a company called Carlight Bulb. Don't get me started. I've got 8 injectors over there. I was trying to be cheap. I'm not going to lie. I was trying to be cheap. I've got 8 injectors. None of them are right. None of them have the right spray pattern. They're not great. So don't go buy cheap injectors. So I've ordered some from K Parts Holland as well as a new temp sensor. So that will be here in a bit, which will be able to mean we can test the old one, and I know what the resistance should be. So if you're watching this because you've got an overfueling bike, hopefully you can watch some of this stuff and pick up what you need to do to test stuff. The temp sensor is a very common thing to go wrong that will then make it overfuel because it thinks it's too cold. It thinks it's like -10 or something. So it's injecting a load of fuel. I've got so much fuel coming out of them injectors. Black smoke pluming out when I do get it running. If you're struggling to get it running, unplug I don't know if you can see it from there, the relay with the orange connector on the bottom of it. Unplug that, everything connected, fuel-wise. Try and start it. As long as it's not flooded with fuel still, it will turn over, then it will bark up a little bit and die. Try it again, and as it's barking up, plug it back in again. Do it with a fuse if you need to. If it starts running and you can hold the revs up a little bit, and it stays running but it's not very good, it's probably going to be your coolant temp sensor. That's a quick way of the way that I figured out how to get the bike running to make it so you could probably get home if that's the case. Also got a temp sense unit on the bike. Now I don't know if the one that I've ordered, not from K Parts Holland, I ordered that one a while ago from Motorworks. I know I'm saying two different people here, but that's who I ordered that from, and maybe I should have ordered it from K Parts Holland because the resistance is different between my module, original module, and the new module. I don't know if that's a problem or not. I can't tell you in this situation, but if I replace everything else on the bike and it's still not running right, it's probably going to be that module. At which point I will then return that and get it from K Parts Holland. I've spoken to Tom at K Parts Holland, and I like it. And I believe everyone else I've used it's a family-run thing. Looking online, it's started off as a hobby, and now it's a massive business for them. They buy K bikes, strip them, test the parts. They actually physically, from what I can see online, they test the components. Like I say, I've spoken to him, and postage. If you're in the UK or any other country, USA, I did ask about USA. So I ordered these parts that are arriving today on Monday night, Tuesday morning. It is now Thursday, and the parts will be delivered today. Last time I definitely ordered them on a Monday night, and they arrived Friday morning. So I was holding off ordering stuff from him because I thought, probably going to take a while coming from Holland. But no, the parts turned up, and yeah, happy they work. I've tested them myself. So don't be put off that it's in a different country. And he did say that USA is the same time roughly to get there as well. It's a couple of days. It's not long. So if you are looking for parts for your K bike, definitely check out K Parts Holland and register for their emails because they had a discount on that. Where was I? K Parts. Can't show you the address. But yeah, this will be my injectors, my temp sensor. So winning. As I say, postage is quick. I can't complain. And so far the parts I've had delivered, obviously not opened that box yet, have been great. The problem you've got on a bike of this age is certain components you're not going to get brand new. He does do stuff from BSK Speedworks, I think it was. They've sort of merged in, that department has merged into him, so he now sells all of those parts there rather than BSK Speedworks. I'm sure that's what it is. Sort of selling them. So, I ordered last time from him an airflow meter, and I can't remember what else. So I'll have to remember, and as we go through stuff, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's what else I ordered. So, we're going to test everything. Coil packs, injectors, airflow, throttle position sensor, and we're going to talk a little bit about the CDR unit and the fuel injection unit. And then I'm going to show you what's wrong with my temp sense unit as well. So, let's move the camera over here where the multimeter is. Now, my multimeter leads are a bit dodgy. My snap-on leads, dead. So I'm having to use some cheap ones. So it's not 100% all the time, but you'll get a good idea of what I'm doing. I was hoping the new ones would be here today, but they haven't turned up yet. So they might turn up in a bit. If they turn up, I'll let you know. And I might even start the video again for that part of it. But as it stands, at the moment, we'll open that package up and we will start testing some components and see what works, what you're looking for, and all that jazz. So yeah, let's go. Right then, so this is the K-part stuff. You can see the logo roughly on there. If there's nothing in here that's got his logo on it, I will find it from the other one. I need to grab another knife. Right, so this is what they've just sent me from K Parts Holland. I'm so hoping that this all works. So this is the new temp sensor, which is made in Italy, of all places. And here's one of my new injectors. Now, this is an interesting thing. I'm going to get a bit excited. So, I haven't got the odd ones out yet. They take a couple of minutes. Now, these have got 4 holes in the bottom. Original ones have single hole. Whether that makes a difference, I don't really know. It should, because it means it's giving it a better spray rather than a direct in the middle, so the atomization should be better. That is metal. I can quite clearly feel that is metal. Annoyingly, this one has come out of its bag, but that's, not a problem. Now, these crappy little things, that is plastic. Looks good, in a way, plastic. They're crap. If you see these online, I don't know about these yet, obviously not tried them, but if you see these online, please do not buy them. They are so cheap, they're so tempting, do not do it. In fact, hold that thought. Okay, so what I've got is a pair of scales you can't see, but you wouldn't be able to see anyway. That injector weighs 46 grams. That injector weighs 79 grams. So that's nearly half, roughly, that weighs nearly half the weight of that one. Now, I know it's all about weight, but quality-wise, plastic, metal. Already looking good. We're already looking good. Don't tell the missus I use the scales. Okay, so there's no prices on this. However, I did get 10% discount. Not anything to do with the video. Nothing to do with that. I got discount because I'm part of the emails that they send. So throughout September, they did 10% off. So this temp sensor, wait, where's it gone? This temp sensor was about £12. So a lot cheaper than the one I already had. And it's sold from somebody that sells parts for K-bikes. Perfect. The injectors, I believe they were about 120 for 4 injectors. Obviously, if you've got a K75, cheaper because you only need 3. So looking forward to seeing how they go in the bike. I'm not looking at testing the new parts. I'm looking at just fitting the new parts because I know that the stuff they've sent me works. Now, let's start the testing. I need to get it up on my phone, so 2 seconds. So we're going to be testing the airflow meter to start with. Now, if you click on the link in the description below, you want to scroll down to the LE Jetronic EFI test. That will then show you what the engine ECU plug, the fuel injection unit, which is this one here, is looking for. Now, make sure that that's unplugged when you start testing stuff, and do not test it through here. Only test it on the plug that comes in, and make sure you're using the right. Don't start shoving your multimeter into it because you'll damage the pins. So make sure you're just going in as you should. But have a little read through this that's on there, on that LE Jetronic test. And you, like I say, you get to that and it tells you what you want to see on all these pins. For the airflow meter, it's a C table below. So testing the airflow meter, it can be done directly at the airflow meter, pin 5, 7, 8 and 9, which is what we're going to do. Now, it wants you to test between pins 7 and 5, 7 and 8, 8 and 5, and 8 and 9. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to see. I'm not sure you'll be able to see on the camera. Let me just sort you out. Okay, so we're testing these ones here. Now on there, it says 5, 9, E, 7 and 8. And we've got the multimeter here. And it tells me what I want to see across the pins. So if we turn this on, realistically, because we're only looking at about 152 ohms or not 82 ohms up to around 400, we're going to put it onto that one there. We're then going to test between pin 7 and 5. So that's 7 and that's 5. Oh, it shows nothing. I can actually get it in there. So yeah. Right then. So that's meant to be reading from 66 up to about 93 would be a good. No, 66 is bad, sorry. The lowest reading you really want is 76.6 and the highest is around 93. The ones they've tested on here is 152 and that had a problem starting the bike. Let's then move over to pins 7 and 8. This should be between 334 and 358. Anything below, anything around 161 and anything around 403 would be wrong. Let's do 8 and 5. This is reading different to how I first tested it, you see. So this is the setting it should be on. Right. Because I'm having to put it on 200k, it's way higher than it should be. This is now reading where it should be. This is 8 and 9. No, this is 8 and 5. Yeah, 8 and 5. Should be reading around 362. So this one here is okay. But this isn't actually affected by the vane movement. And the next one we want is pin 8 and 9. which are those two, and that's 204, which is around, that's the air temperature sensor. So the air temperature sensor that sits in here is good. What I do actually have, like Blue Peter style, is another one. So this at the moment is reading 202. And if we then switch that one for that one for that one, it's about the same, which is good. If we then go back to 8 and 5, 365, perfect. We then need to go to 7 and 8. There we go. Right, 335 on 7 and 8. Obviously, when I did it earlier, so I was getting a bit confused, I was having to change it from 2k to 200k, which means the resistance is stupidly high on this one. I prefer a manual ranging one because I can figure it out. Auto ranging starts doing random shit. So I've got a manual ranging multimeter. I'm just tired. Give me some slack. Give me some slack. But yeah, so you can already see there's a clear difference there, because if I put it back on the other one, it's not even reading on the 2K. So if we then go between 7 and 5, (76) and 76.6 on here is known as good. So happy with that as well. So this multimeter, this airflow meter is good. We know it's good. We've tested it. So if I now move that down to this one, just to prove a point, nothing. Won't even read it. So we know there's a problem with that multimeter. Airflow meter. We know there's a problem with the airflow meter. So that's how you test that one. Quite easy. That sensor for the temp sensors in here. There we go. That's that. So this can go in the bin because it's not working. It's wrong. It's reading wrong. So it will make the fueling go all over the shop. Right. Next we're going to test, or try to test, is the throttle position sensor. I was trying to find if I had any pins I could use, but I don't think I do. So annoyingly, the new multi-leads in that will turn up and they will have it. So what you're expecting to hear with this when operating it, I don't know if you can hear that, is it click as it gets to the very end. So right now it's in its clicked position. We're going to change that to continuity. We're going to test it. Well, we're not going to test. Hold that in there and we get nothing. So we know now when it's on idle, it's seeing it's on idle. But as soon as you come off throttle, as soon as you come off idle, it loses the continuity on that little switch, and that's that. So now I believe if we go to this side and this, and this one, I can hold it all in place, and then we twist this the other way. So there you go. So now it knows when you're sort of on throttle, come off throttle, clicks back to idle, and now the other side will be showing, yep, I'm on idle. Perfect. So that does work. I'm not sure if it's supposed to work continuously, looking at the photo that I've seen, but that does do something. My idle isn't set up properly because obviously the bike is overfueling. So I'm not setting this up yet. This will be set up in probably the next video. What you do is, as soon as you move that throttle, you want it to click. So this needs to be set in a position where it's clicking, so just as you come off of idle and you're revving up a little bit. So that's something that we need to bear in mind. Now, what else can we test? Let's test one of these injectors. One of these new ones, shall we? As in, not from K Parts. This is from an unknown source. as it were. So it does read right. It's meant to be about 15 ohms, so that's not bad, but they don't actually work. They either don't work, or the spray pattern's off, or they don't spray, and then when you turn the bike off, they leak. Crap. So, what we're going to do next? Get rid of this for a minute. Next, we've got the temp sense units. So this is a new one from 1987, and this is mine from 1983. What I need to do is open the bottom of this up, and then when we open this, you can probably see over here that track is all burnt out. Now obviously that's not just a relay. There's a relay there, and there's like a multi-processor type thing, and there's things in here, the capacitor and diodes, and yeah, so it's not just a relay that turns on, it does something else. Yeah, so it's not as straightforward as just a relay, but something doesn't work on that. So hence why I've ordered a new one, and it smells burnt inside. Obviously the new one is here. I have taken it out, I have looked at it, and it doesn't have any marks in there, but you know what to look for on your one if you're having maybe overfueling problems, because it will send some of its voltage through it and stuff. Shouldn't do, but it might do. So yeah, what else was there? Coils. Let me get the coils off. We'll test the coils, because I know the coils on mine are on their way out, so we can test them too, and then we will talk about these components up here. Right, so here we have coil for 1 and 4, 2 and 3. They're obviously wasted spark, so they are, when it's doing the spark for 1, it's also doing the spark for 4. When it's doing the spark for 2, it's also doing it for 3. Hence why, when it overfuels, you get backfires and all that stuff for it, because what it's doing is, as the valves are open and stuff, it's still putting a spark through and igniting. So let me just find where we're at on here. Right then, so, oh, hello. Right then, so what we're doing is we're going to test between, I believe it's this one here and this one here. We want to see 2.2 ohms. 2.2, which is good. We'll test this one. Once again, that's also good. So that is the primary windings resistance test. So that's good. Go to the next one. Now we want to go in here, which is the ignition coil secondary windings resistance test. So we should see 10 kiloohms here. Which is okay. It's a little bit lower than it should be. Once again, that's still okay-ish. Should be 10 to make it within spec. And the next thing is testing the ignition leads. So you would have the leads on there, do the same thing on each lead, and you should have a resistance of 20 kiloohms. So, I don't know where I got before that these were knackered, but they came back as knackered last time. So it must have been the leads that I was using, which is okay. So, I know the leads I've got are actually arcing against the head on cylinders 1 and something else, from what I can see. So, I have got a replacement thing that I'm going to do with this. I can't tell if it's going to work. It could potentially damage the ignition box, and obviously I've got a new one now. So I've got a plan to get around that as well. So I need to order some more spark plugs. I have fitted some new spark plugs, DE7E, I think they are, but I need some EAs, which have a 5 ohm resistor built into the spark plugs, which will prevent damage to the, basically, ignition box. So I didn't know that until just searching just then and looking at something online that I needed them. So before I can do the modification I'm going to do with the bike, I need to make sure I get those basically. So next thing we need to do is test these injectors. So let me get them out of the bike and we'll go from there. Okay, so we have now got 4 of my old injectors. I've got 4 injectors. Now the one thing I was going to do first really was the temp sensor, because that's the main thing everyone's going to be here for, to see what the score of that is, and I've just forgot about it. So we'll do this and it'll be last. My injectors, they all fire. They definitely all fire. I've tested them. Out the bike, with fuel, they fire. However, they should read, I think it's about 15 ohms each, roughly. If we move this so it's right here. So this is my injector number 1. Nothing. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's gone again. 17 point something. So it's a little bit higher than it should be. That was 1. Go to 2. 17 point something. So, okay. Number 3. Nothing. Reverse the polarity. Something. Didn't do that before. Oh, this bike does my head in, honestly. So by me removing them, I fixed them. Because they weren't reading. There you go. So that one isn't reading at all. Number 3. Right, it stopped reading now. Yeah, I'm in. It stopped reading. So that's the problem I had on the bike, which kind of makes sense. They're a bit high. One of them was a bit higher. When I was testing it before, no word of a lie, number 1 was 35 ohms, but you could only have it reading one way. 2 and 4 were fine, and 3 was reading nothing. So there's obviously something inside that's a bit dodgy from where I've just removed it, and it's not happy. However, my plan anyway was to replace the injectors because they are 40 years old. They are the original injectors from the bike. So for me, it makes sense to replace the injectors on a 40-year-old bike that have been giving me a little bit of grief with regards to the resistances they're showing. Right, so this is the new temp sensor. So what should happen is I'm on one of the pins here, and it should earth through the case. Oh, God. Okay, so this is me now testing the temp sensor. It's a 2.4, basically 2,300, 2,400 ohms, which in my head roughly equates to, it's like 17, 18 degrees, which is probably what we are around now. When it's operating temperature, it should be 300 ohms. So that's reading absolutely fine as it stands at the moment. Let me swap this out for the old one. So here is said old temperature sensor. Nothing. I'm getting nothing. Nothing at all. It's dead. Now, when I first started reading that, when I knew it was faulty, I was getting about 8,000 ohms, which off the top of my head is reading basically under, it's like minus something. So that's obviously a problem. So I'll show you now where that sits. And yeah. So that there is the new one. I've just screwed that in so it stops losing some coolant. But yeah, you can quite clearly see that's where it fits. It's quite simple to get to. 19mm socket with a wobbly head extension on there, and you can sort of wiggle it in and it'll be fine. I forgot to mention, I'd also changed the fuel pressure regulator. That was due to the overfueling fault. I'd also changed that as well as the fuel pump, which was done off camera. But you can see how easy that is once the airbox is out to get to. Okay, so the last thing to talk about was the ignition module. I did mention about a wire, so I've replaced mine. I've got a spare one because it doesn't send an earth to the starter relay itself. It's part of like a safety subsystem that's saying, nope, something isn't met. Not sure what's not met because I put another one on there and it worked absolutely fine. So which means there's a faulty unit on that. I'm going to be using the faulty unit to test the coil that I'm going to be using with the HT leads and the new spark plugs, because if I damage that one, it doesn't matter. I've got a new fuel injection unit here. They came as a pair. I have got a spare one. Like a massive multimeter basically. It's looking at the resistances of the injectors, the temp sensor. It doesn't know what the fuel pressure is. It's assuming that the fuel pressure is correct and it knows what the fuel pressure should be. And at this fuel pressure, I should be injecting this much. It's very dumb. It's a very dumb system that they fitted to the bike, which is fine. It makes it a bit easier to diagnose, apart from when you order the wrong part. So don't do what I did and try and cheat the system by finding the part number, correlations, and what other vehicles they fitted that to and buying it that way, because that didn't work. So I'm hoping that with the new one from K-Parts Holland, it does work. So yeah, hopefully this has helped in some kind of way. If you've got a overfueling bike running in some random overfueling situation, it's probably going to be the coolant temp sensor, but you might want to test everything while you're there. Like I said, no affiliation with K-Parts Holland. I've just spoken to them about the delivery times and said, wow, that was really quick. So yeah, make sure you take a look at the document below. If you need the coil stuff information for the resistances on that, join the Facebook group for K100 purists. The files are up there and there's loads of information in there. We're going to be refitting the stuff that we've got to make it run, hopefully. We're fitting injectors, temp sensor, it's already been screwed in, stop coolant leaking. Airflow meter, temp sense unit. Temp sense unit on. The only thing I've done already is I've just put the airflow meter in and also put the temp sensor in, purely because the temp sensor was already shown in the last video where it is and what size socket you need to do. You just need to remember that if it's hot, you're going to lose coolant. It's going to be pressurized, so you need to make sure it's not pressurized in there. Airflow meter. Reason I'm not showing you that on my one is purely because mine isn't fitted in the airbox anymore. It just slots on. So pretty boring video for you, really. There's a video of me doing the airflow meter and making a bracket, but I'm not sure it's going to be released before or after this one. But there's bits in there. Yeah, I've messed up with the videos, and because it was meant to run. It was running. It just didn't run after that stuff. So yeah. All I'll do now, really, is fit the coils and the injectors back. Old coils, because the new ones will be fitted at a later date. So yeah, let's get these new injectors fitted. So viewers that have watched from the beginning will already know this was nicely painted. No longer nicely painted, and that started from the cheap injectors. If I'd have just bought some nice ones and fitted them when I was supposed to, I wouldn't have damaged the engine casing paint. So that's got to come off again and be repainted. So yeah, as you can tell, I was really buzzing about that situation. I'm going to just move this out of the way. Perfect. So let's get the fuel tank mounted in some way that we can get it running. Fingers crossed it starts. Right then, so that's the fuel tank plumbed up. It's got fuel in it. It's a return line and the feed line on. fuel injection unit's on, the ignition unit's on, the trigger wire is connected, but I still need to repair the front. Right, in theory it should start. Right then, so as you've seen, we've just replaced loads of bits, tested loads of bits. We've airflow meter, fuel pumps, all that stuff has now been changed. Injectors, coolant temp sensor, parts were from K Parts Holland. Once again, brilliant service. What we haven't seen yet is the bike run since replacing everything, which hopefully, it was a while ago I did all these bits. It's probably been sat for a month, if not a bit longer, just with life being so busy. This is the end of that video, which I hadn't recorded. So fingers crossed. Okay, so it does run. It doesn't like revving up very much. Now, there's a few things I need still to do on the bike. I had the trigger off and apart, so it may be that the timing is slightly out, which would cause it to do what it's doing. It's also very smoky. Now, I do know on K100s, you're not supposed to keep them on the side stand the whole time. It's normally on my stand. I don't have a centre stand on this, so it's probably just the oil going in to the bores when it's sat, not being used. My plan is, once it's all done, it will be sat on that pretty much most of the time, and then obviously when you ride it, there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, it is better, 100%. It does start as I wanted it to, whereas before it wasn't starting at all. I have got some bits that have arrived, which is coil pack and HT leads and some spark plugs. So we'll go into that on the next video. As I know you can buy a kit, but it seems quite expensive. So I'm hoping I found a way around using the kit you can buy and sort of made one myself. It won't look great to start with, but hopefully by the end of it, it will work fine. But hopefully some of the diagnostic stuff that I have shown in this video will massively help. I think at some point I've said I'm going to drop some links in the stuff below. If I can find that stuff, it was a while ago, I'll put it in there. If not, drop us an email and I can tell you where to get the information from if you require it. If not, like I say, it's on the Facebook group for K100 purists. There's a good file on there. So definitely take a look at that sort of stuff. And that's where I got a lot of my stuff from for how to diagnose certain parts of the bike, like the airflow meter. But that's all on there now. So hopefully this has helped somebody else. It's been a real head scratcher for me at times. I sort of get carried away with what I'm trying to do, and then that's it. I get focused on the thing that I'm trying to fix, and I can't stop till it's fixed. So I've taken a bit of time off, but we have got more parts that are here. So I'm hoping it warms up a little bit rather than being -3 degrees at night, where I can then start to fit the new coil pack in the hope that it works. So spark plugs, coil pack, and HT leads, the wiring for it, how it's going to work, the plug and everything. That's all going to be in that video. Yeah, so fingers crossed that works. I think another reason why it might not be running quite right and revving up is the spark plugs that are in there have become saturated in petrol. So I would recommend, if you've got a running problem, like it doesn't start because it's over fueling, first thing you should change after really is the spark plugs, because if you do get it running like that, it's going to be over fueling and it will foul the spark plugs. So that could be another reason as to why it's going wrong. I think in this video, the coil packs tested okay. However, before they didn't test okay when it was off camera. Slightly weird, hence why I'm changing the coil pack. Also, if you're looking at used coil packs, they are the originals you can only really buy. So you're still spending over £100 on coil packs that are potentially 40 years old. So there's no guarantee they're still going to be okay or how long they'll last for. So fingers crossed, the solution I have will work. I've done a bit of research into it, what I needed, what I didn't need. So yeah, stay tuned for that one if you're looking at changing your coil pack to a single unit rather than 2 individuals. Yeah, still need to sort the air filter out. I believe it has to sit this way, so I've bought the wrong tube, but I'm hoping that I can get a metal one made and it'd just be a 90-degree angle this way instead. Keep the airflow meter that way and we'll be all golden. I do need a new fuel tank, as this one is, it's seen better days, but so far no luck with getting one of those, so we might have to try and repair it a bit better than what it already is and sand it down a bit more. The other side, sand it down. Yeah. It runs. I'm over the moon that it runs. Still loads of bits left to do, loads of bits it needs. It's just finding the time. So sorry if the videos aren't coming out as regular as they used to. This is kind of where we're at. And yeah, I'll hopefully get the next video done and uploaded within 2 weeks after this one. And then I can decide what I'm actually doing with the frame and everything. But yeah, like I say, hopefully this has helped somebody at some point. It will help you try and diagnose a running problem with your bike. Or even if you bought one and you need to, you want to just test stuff, follow the video. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully it is good in my head. Whether it's actually good on there, I don't actually know yet. So yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.